What if the people you trust the most are the ones who break your heart? Picture two sisters bound by love, loyalty, and promises made under the shade of a jacaranda tree in their small Ugandan village. They had nothing except each other. But sometimes fate can be cruel, turning kindness into tragedy, loyalty into betrayal, and trust into a battle for survival. This is the dramatic, emotional story of two sisters whose bond is put to the ultimate test, a story you'll remember long after it's over. Let's begin. In a quiet village of Kaliro, tucked between golden fields, lived two inseparable sisters, Nakato and Babari. After losing both parents in a tragic road accident, the girls clung to each other for survival. Babari, the older one by just a year, gave up her education at the age of 15 to till land and clean homes so Nakato could stay in school. Their bond was admired across the village. People often whispered, "Those girls are one soul in two bodies." Babari worked from sunrise to sunset, her hands blistered from digging and her back sore from carrying loads. Yet, her eyes always lit up with pride whenever she saw Nakato in her school uniform. Years flew by. Nakato graduated with honors and secured a job with a top telecom company in Kampala. She moved to the city and soon married a middle-class accountant. Babari, on the other hand, married Mugisha, a humble maize farmer from their village, and gave birth to a gentle, smart girl named Achen. Life remained simple for Babari, filled with struggle but also laughter and community. Nakato would send money occasionally and call during Christmas. But the closeness they once shared slowly faded. Tragedy struck again when Mugisha died of malaria. With Babari's health also failing, she couldn't afford to send Achen to university even though the girl had passed her UC exams with top marks. Desperate and out of options, Babari called her sister. "Nakato, I need help," she pleaded. "Achen wants to continue her education, but I can't do it alone." Nakato sighed, but agreed. "Send her to Kampala. I'll take care of her." When Achen heard the news, she jumped with excitement. She had no idea her journey was walking straight into the heart of betrayal. The morning Achen left Kaliro for Kampala, the entire village gathered to see her off. Wrapped in her mother's lisu and clutching a small suitcase filled with her dreams, Achen hugged Babari tightly. Her mother's frail arms held her for a long moment. "Be brave, my child," Babari whispered. "You're going to make us proud." The bus journey to Kampala was long and winding. Achen stared out the window, mesmerized by the changing landscape, small villages giving way to towering buildings and busy highways. She imagined herself in university, wearing graduation robes and making speeches. Her mother's sacrifices would not go in vain. Nakato received her with a smile that barely reached her eyes. "Welcome, my niece," she said, showing her the small guest room beside the kitchen. Achen noticed her cousin Vanessa's room had an air conditioner and a private bathroom. Still, she was grateful. The first few days passed quietly. Achen helped around the house while waiting for admission into Mokereri. But soon, Nakato handed her a uniform and said, "You'll be working in my cosmetics shop downtown. For now, let's hold off on university." Achen's heart sank. "But Aunt, I thought I came here to study." Nakato waved her off. "Education can wait. You need to be useful first." Days turned into weeks. Achen opened the shop at 6 a.m., managed sales, cleaned, and handled customers while Vanessa spent her days on TikTok or going out with friends. Still, Achen worked diligently, her warm nature attracting customers. Even Nakato's husband, Paul, often praised her. "That girl has a good heart," he said one night. "She reminds me of her mother." Each morning, Achen swept the floor of Nakato Beauty Parlor, arranged the lipsticks and wigs, then opened the door to the bustling streets of Kampala. She smiled at every customer and remembered to say, "Thank you," no matter how tired she was. Her mother had taught her that kindness cost nothing. One hot afternoon, as she stood outside shading her eyes from the sun, a black Range Rover stopped in front of the shop. The window rolled down, and a young man with a gentle face and soft-spoken voice asked, "Do you sell coconut hair oil?" "Yes, please come in," Achen replied, her smile sincere. The man, who introduced himself as Jacob, began to visit the shop more frequently. First for hair products, then for casual conversation. He was charming but respectful. He would talk about his business travels, Dubai, Nairobi, even London. He mentioned real estate, international clients, and sometimes slipped Luganda phrases that made her laugh. One day, Jacob bought a whole basket of beauty supplies and offered Achen a ride back home. She refused politely. "My aunt wouldn't be happy," she said. "Your aunt should be proud. You're the reason I keep coming back," he smiled, leaving her stunned. That evening, Nakato watched through the curtain as Achen hummed while cleaning. "Who is this man you always smile about?" she asked, her voice sharp. "No one, auntie. Just a customer." But Nakato had noticed Jacob too. She'd seen his expensive watch, the way he carried himself, and most importantly, how he looked at Achen. That night, Nakato's thoughts twisted with envy. Her own daughter, Vanessa, spent more time gossiping on the phone than learning anything useful. Meanwhile, her niece, humble, beautiful, and dignified, was winning hearts in her house and now possibly the heart of a wealthy man. And Nakato would not let that happen. From that day on, Nakato's attitude shifted. She watched Achen closely, every word she said, every smile she gave, every customer she served. Her kind niece had unknowingly stepped into dangerous territory. At dinner one night, Paul, Nakato's husband, mentioned that girl Achen is quite resourceful. "She manages the shop better than any worker I've seen." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "She's just a village girl, Daddy." But Nakato's smile was tight. Her thoughts were racing. "This girl must be stopped before she takes everything I've worked for." She had plans for Jacob, the wealthy young man with property and connections. Vanessa was her only child. If anyone should marry into luxury, it was her. The next morning, Nakato followed Achen to the shop under the pretense of inspecting inventory. She waited until Jacob arrived and saw the way his eyes lit up when he saw Achen. Later that evening, she called a private meeting with Vanessa. "You must win that man," Nakato said firmly. "He's your ticket to a better life." "But he likes Achen," Vanessa said. Nakato leaned in. "Then make him stop. We'll start by making her look untrustworthy." The next week, the plan unfolded. Nakato lied to Jacob that Achen had a boyfriend in Kaliro and was only pretending to be innocent. Vanessa, coached by her mother, began visiting the shop more frequently, acting warm and flirtatious around Jacob. Then Nakato told Achen, "You've been working too much. Stay home this week. Vanessa will manage the shop." Confused but obedient, Achen stayed back. But every day she stayed away, Jacob grew distant. He stopped calling. When Achen finally returned to the shop, he had stopped coming. Heartbroken and unaware of the lies, Achen began to feel something had slipped through her fingers. Something pure. Something meant for her. Days turned into weeks and Jacob never returned. Achen waited, hoping he might walk in one day, say it had all been a misunderstanding. But his absence was loud. The shop felt emptier. Her heart even more so. Nakato acted as if nothing had happened. Vanessa now ran the shop in the afternoons, dressing in her finest and pretending to be the perfect host. Meanwhile, Achen stayed home, cooking and cleaning like a house help. Then, one fateful afternoon, Achen returned home early from the market. As she entered the gate, she heard laughter. Familiar. Too familiar. She followed the voices to the backyard veranda. There, sipping juice and smiling under the jacaranda tree, sat Jacob, his hand resting on Vanessa's lap. Her world stopped. Achen stood frozen, the bag of tomatoes slipping from her hands. Jacob looked up and froze too. For a second, guilt flashed in his eyes. Vanessa smirked. "Achen, you're home early," Nakato said coldly, stepping out from the house. "I was just about to call you to bring towels." Without a word, Achen turned and walked away. Her heart beat like a war drum. Inside, something broke. Quietly, completely. That night, she packed the little she had and left the house. No goodbyes. No explanations. She wandered the streets of Kampala, too proud to return to Kaliro in shame. Her only skills were honesty, humility, and her mother's mandatsi recipe. So she borrowed a pan from a kind street vendor and began frying and selling mandatsi by the roadside. Day by day, she scraped by, hiding under kiosks to sleep when it rained, washing her clothes at petrol station taps. She had gone from top student to street girl, but her spirit, though bruised, refused to die. She had no idea that fate was not done with her yet. Rain poured in sheets as Achen crouched under a broken umbrella beside her mandatsi tray. Her once bright clothes had faded, her skin sunburned, but her hands still moved with precision, kneading, shaping, and frying golden rounds of hope. That evening, as she pushed her cart near Kabalagala Junction, a loud honk jolted her. She turned too late. A black Mercedes struck her side. People screamed. Her tray flew. Mandazzi scattered across the road like fallen stars. The driver jumped out in panic. Achen, dazed but conscious, clutched her side. The man, dressed in an expensive suit and dreadlocks pulled into a bun, looked horrified. Oh my God! What will happen to Achen? Will someone come to her rescue, or will this be the end of her story? Stay tuned for part 2, where fate prepares its greatest twist yet.